is the webinar for Exseed Health, which is a company out of Europe. We'll learn more about them in a minute. But before we get started, I would like to remind everyone of the following information. PropelX is a funding platform, not a broker-dealer. A syndicate, if formed, will be managed by PropelX by Plank Fund Management Corporation, a Nevada-registered venture capital firm. Private investments are highly illiquid and risky and not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not indicative of future results. You should speak with your financial advisor, accountant, or attorney when evaluating private offerings. Neither PropelX nor Plank Fund Management nor any of its affiliates makes any recommendations or provides advice about investments. The information you hear today may make forward-looking statements about investments which have not been reviewed by PropelX or Plank Fund Management Corporation. You should not rely on these statements, but should carefully evaluate the offering materials in assessing any private investment opportunity, including the complete set of risk factors. With that out of the way, let's get started. Before I hand over to Morten, who is the CEO and founder of Exseed Health, I wanted to share a quick tour for people. Well, I think you're all familiar with this, but in any event, for people that are not familiar, I'm going to give you a quick tour of the platform. Here we go. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh my gosh. There we go. Here is the profile for Exseed Health. Dr. Nag, who is our board member, is also an investor, as is his fund, our 42 group, and a bunch of other institutional investors. The profile, the presentation is available. You can navigate it. Sorry, just give that a minute. So the presentation shows up. Either way, you can ask Exseed Health a question right here. View their materials online. The deal terms are right here. Here's their entire team. Their materials, videos, some fantastic videos, I should add. I've seen them and they're quite excellent. And then some of the deal terms, and if you're interested, you can invest here. Again, the investment will be aggregated into a syndicate. You would be investing as part of the syndicate. With that, I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to hand it over to Morten. Morten, could you please introduce yourself as well as your company? Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. And it's great to be here today. Thank you all for your time. So my name is Morten Olsted. I am the CEO and co-founder of Exseed Health. We specialize in male reproductive health and digital microscopy and cloud computing. Myself and Emil Anderson, who we have here, he is a PhD scientist specializing in reproductive health and epigenetics. Emil came up with the idea during his PhD research. Maybe you want to talk a little bit more about that, Emil? Just quickly introduce yourself.
Yes, I can quickly introduce myself now. As mentioned, my name is Emil Andersen, and I have a background as a researcher within reproductive biology, where I also got the idea to start Exseed. I actually started my research career within stem cell biology, and then during my PhD transitioned to work more on reproductive biology, where I especially were responsible for pioneering research on DNA methylation and the influence in sperm cells, and also how that could potentially affect the next generation of offspring. And just, I think, as Morten mentioned, during my research, I've been analyzing a lot of semen samples, and we got the idea of Exseed. With the initial idea, as you'll also see, as being able to bring something home to men to actually test earlier, because what we see in the research is that we need to start doing something about fertility much sooner than what we actually do right now. And just a bit more background on me. I'm right now the Chief Scientific Officer at Exseed, and I'm also supervising the research and development and the regulatory work at Exseed.
Thanks, Emil. And we also have Ben on the call. He's an absolute marketeering powerhouse and has been instrumental in setting up a lot of our successful direct-to-consumer business, and certainly also the latest B2B partnering. So Ben, just a quick introduction on yourself.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. So I'm the VP of Operations and the UK General Manager. So that encompasses working very closely with the marketing and the sales teams. So my day-to-day job is very much taking our products, whether it is the home test or the CASA Lite, and trying to expand that into new markets and new customers. My background is a mixture of health and wellness and hospitality. Very much marketing. I've been doing marketing for the last 15 years, but very much specializing in digital marketing with a view to customer acquisition. But I'll probably leave it at that for now.
Thanks, Brian. And I realized I didn't actually talk about my own background. I have a double master's degree in economics and business administration. And right after business school, I was hired into the early leadership development program at Novo Nordisk, which is one of the world's most successful pharma companies, where I got the opportunity to work across both early pipeline asset valuation. I experienced what it was like to work in the US with $100 million marketing budget behind me to launch some anti-obesity drugs you may not have heard of. And then I transitioned into their biopharmaceuticals division, starting up a brand new strategic operations team in the global medical affairs biopharm. So I have experience across analytics, marketing, product launches, and medical affairs, which I think puts me in a pretty good spot to then launch medical products with this amazing team here. So yeah, I don't know if you wanted to hear anything else, or we should just share my screen.
Thank you, Morten. Please get started. Share your screen, share your slides, get started.
Excellent. So I will share my entire screen here. Great. I trust you can see my screen. So yeah, we are Exseed collectively, and we are building a highly advanced point-of-care diagnostics platform focused on male fertility. We were founded in 2017, which is a little while ago now, actually, but we spent the first 3 to 4 years in just hardcore product development because we had I'd say, a pretty unique vision of being a true point-of-care diagnostics platform, truly globally scalable and independent of any centralized labs or courier services with some other offerings that are currently on the market. But that's why it's taken a little longer, but now we are at an incredibly exciting place where we have a launched home test, which is CE certified as a Class 2 medical device in Europe. We've been awarded the ISO 13485 certificate for safe development and manufacturing of medical devices. And we've also just last year launched a second leg of our business, if you will, which caters to medical professionals, and it opens up a very attractive and super exciting new business model for us. We have also scaled quite drastically on the platform, so we've actually done more than 60,000 tests on the platform. No, it says 52 there, but that's a month old, that figure there. So we are quite humbly on a quest to become the world's preferred diagnostic provider for male fertility. And we have developed a sophisticated cloud computing platform to do exactly that. So we can democratize access to high-powered microscopy, both into clinics, but also right into the homes of users. And it's all really neatly integrated. We've already done an introduction of myself, Emil, and Ben. So what I want to say here is that we're also really, really proud to have Professor Pacey and Professor Barrett on our scientific advisory board, both of whom are active contributors to the WHO global guidelines for semen analysis, meaning any laboratory anywhere in the world, the first book they're going to open up to see how something's done properly, that will be it. And they are very bullish on what we're building here as well. A little bit about the market that we're addressing. If you look on the right-hand side here, you see that around 1 in 6 couples in the Western world are now experiencing infertility, meaning they've been trying to conceive naturally for at least a year, but unable to do so. Now, what the science further shows us is that 40% of this inability to conceive is actually male-related. And there's been some very highly publicized studies coming out in the last 5 years or so showing just a precipitous decline, a 50+% decline in male fertility parameters in a relatively short period of time. Yet, if we shift the focus to the left side of the slide, what we see when we look at the marketplace, we see a space where almost all focus products and services are aimed at women. So that leads to suboptimal treatment outcomes on a national and local level, an unfair emotional burden placed on women, sidelining men in this treatment process, and I could continue. So this is something that we clearly want to address. And with this suite of products that we've built out, you can see we now have something that spans some quite attractive marketplaces. You have the overall global fertility services market, which is estimated to be around worth around $40 billion. But then you also have subsegments of this where you see an almost doubling in the sperm count test market for professionals, which is set to increase to about $4 billion in the next 6 years or so. So that's an 8% CAGR, meaning, yeah, like a doubling of that market in like a 6-7 year period. You also see for the home fertility diagnostics, you see some reports show anywhere from 9 to 13% compound annual growth rate, meaning as a marketplace, it's going to double on its own in like a 5-year period. So again, highly attractive marketplace to be operating in. We have built a suite of products. We call them the pillars of our value offering. We have the microscope devices where you see this disruptive computer-assisted semen analysis system that we launched just last year. I'll tell you more about that. Then we have the Exseed home test, which has been our key product until now, and it still is actually, which is CE certified as a Class 2 medical device. Then we, of course, use best-in-class software analysis methods. So we use graph neural networks, LSTM, some nicely AI-guided detection tools. And we've wrapped it all in a cloud-based software system because we've, from the beginning, had this vision that we wanted our diagnostics to be able to integrate into the existing solutions. So the great work that's already being done at fertility clinics and hospitals around the world should be able to integrate our services into that. We don't want to necessarily be seen as a competitor or anybody who pulls away any patients. On the contrary, then we also have some intervention methods that are sort of tag along nicely to especially the home test. I'll get into that a little bit more. But this is where this places us. Essentially, we are now at a place where the Exseed diagnostics platform sits very nicely in between the patient at home, the doctor in the office, and we can just do seamless diagnostics in both places. And then if you sit at home, your results are just automatically transferred into a centralized patient management system. So if you are a business partner of ours, you will click one button if you want your patient to receive a test at home. You can simply click another button if you want that patient to come into the clinic in a traditional workup, I should say. So for the home testing, what we have here is a quick video that shows the unboxing experience where somebody opens the box, scans the QR code when you're automatically taken to the App Store or the Google Play. You download the app directly. You have a few consumables you need to unpack. Then you simply transfer the slide or the sample from the cup onto that slide. You insert the slide into the device, and then you place the smartphone on top. And then within a 2 to 3 minute period, we will provide you with a lab grade test result. So we use 4K high resolution computer vision to do this. So it's a very seamless and nice experience. Yeah, and here you see, again, the product and the microscopy of it, where if you look inside of the lens, this is what you actually see. So the swimming cells are moving real time. You place the smartphone on top, and then you're giving a result right then and there on your smartphone. We also then can feed this result, like I said, into any partner clinic that we have. And we also have a medical team on the back end who can go and verify results if they want to do so. And this is how it then populates into a really nice looking patient management system. So if you are an embryologist or doctor sitting there reviewing a patient result, this is what you will see. We also have the ability to generate really nice doctor's report, professional medical doctor's reports for the patients, for example, who have bought the device and then they generate a result and then they want to forward that into a doctor prior to a consultation, as an example. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but we are microscopy nerds in the best sense of the word, meaning we're getting quite good at this. So what you see here on the left-hand side is a snapshot of our home test, actually, where you can track up to 5,000 objects in real time. And then in the middle, you see a cutout where you can then observe our algorithm correctly classifying the sperm cells, somatic cells, agglutinations, and so forth, just as you would in a highly expensive lab-based system. And actually what you can see that on the right-hand side is the power of the microscopy, where we can also look at monocytes, white blood cell detections, which would indicate an underlying inflammation, as an example. That's not the intended use of the product, but it just shows those are the types of things that you can actually see with the microscopy. Complex technology on the back end, but on the front end, it's a highly intuitive, easy to use user interface where, again, you're immediately presented with a result that's easy to understand. Then you're given a personal guide on how can you potentially improve your fertility health and pregnancy outcomes with your partner. And the power of this is we actually take the physical parameters of the test, so your concentration, your sperm, your motility, and so forth. And then we include use anthropometrics, so height, weight, age, and also preferences such as lifestyle. And then we present that user with the top 3 programs that are most likely to have an impact on that individual. And then all we ask for is a 3-month commitment to that program to see a change at the end of it. We do a lot of cohort analyses and digging in our data, and here you see one of them. That's 103 of these males who committed to a 3-month lifestyle program. What you could see here is that at the end of it, there was a 30% increase in the total motile sperm count. And according to scientific literature, that is the #1 indicator of male fertility potential. So it correlates very nicely with natural chances of conception. And that increased by 30%. Now, more crucially, it's the number you see in the middle, where actually 50% of the men who came in and initially classified as low per WHO reference values were able to move themselves out of that category, leading to an up to 6 to 12% higher likelihood of conceiving with a partner. Now, if you've paid any attention to IVF cycle success in professional clinics, you'll see that's quite a substantial improvement, because there you'll see anywhere from maybe 33% IVF cycle success all the way up to 37, 38 in very good clinics with healthy couples. So on average, you would need 3 cycles for a successful pregnancy outcome. Here we are saying, we don't want to meddle with that. We know that works 1/3 of the time. But let us include the male in this. And on the right-hand side, those are comparable intervention studies where you can just see that we match up with the success rates of these men going through. I would also say it's quite crucial here that some men will not be responders. And those are the ones where often there can be an underlying medical issue. And we are very quick at identifying these men and then ushering them along and saying, you should probably reach out to this fertility clinic or your doctor, andrologist, gynecologist for further workup to shorten the time to treatment. That is the #1 reason why sort of birth rates are going down. It's time to treatment right now, and that's a big mission for us to identify these men early on.
Morten, if I may ask a question.
Yeah.
So there's 50% that are moving out of the low to moderate category because of, so when you say intervention, it's really showing them the results and then telling them what to do. It's kind of coaching or how should I say, it's not doctor coaching, but it's really a coaching mechanism which helps them move out with just that. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. So we've developed 12 overall programs. So one is weight loss, there's smoking cessation, there's reduction of alcohol, there's improved diet, there's supplementation, reduction of stress, sex optimization, and all these types of things. But I think the power of it is that we've developed quite a sophisticated decision tree in the back end, which matches up the primary needs with the user anthropometrics. So for example, if somebody indicates, okay, they have a BMI of 29 or 30, they would move into the overweight obese category. So then the first program that's presented to them would be a weight loss program. And then we say, okay, can you commit to this for an 8, 12, or 16-week period? And then we take it from there. If somebody's normal weight, of course, that program is not going to be shown at all, but it might be stress reduction or something like that. So our diagnostics are certified medical devices, but this is a like sort of personalized guidance, I would say. That those are not, yeah.
Got it. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Then this is a competitor overview where you can see Exseed in the first column. I'm certainly not going to go through all these ones, but we have these key parameters where you can see we pretty much square off all of them. So the first one being WHO-defined physical parameters of a test that you should have for it to be clinically relevant, where you can see we pretty much have all of them. And then also with the customer convenience and privacy, we just where you get immediate results and there's no dependence on appointed schedules, for example. You can see those are just some great things to have in a product, where I think the ones in the US we would compare ourselves mostly to are the ones all the way to the right, where you have Legacy and Fellow and other pretty successful companies now, but they all follow the exact same method, which is a preservation medium is added to the sample, and then you are dependent on a courier to come and pick it up and deliver it to a centralized lab within a certain time frame. And then you do some type of statistical backlogging or backdating and saying, we think that with an 80% accuracy, just as an example, you were in this range 24 hours ago or 36 hours ago. There's not a lot of data to back up the efficacy of that. And also, if you look at the WHO guidance, the very first paragraph is pretty much that a sperm analysis should be done within 1 hour for reliable analysis, because the motility parameter, meaning how fast they're swimming, is just highly unpredictable in its biodegradation. And that is something that we have. But I do think they're doing a good job in putting some market evidence that actually you can do some home testing and have a good experience and a reliable service with that. So that's why we feel quite strong about our unique proposition into the market. Then we spent quite a lot of time developing this digital microscopy platform, and then we kept getting inbound requests from embryologists and clinics and research labs around the world, and how they could, if there was a way they could use our home test for sort of repeated reliable analysis, because what was currently in the market was these $50,000 to $60,000 massive systems that they can be quite sophisticated, but they're certainly very expensive and also requires a lot of training. And yeah, it's just beyond the reach of most labs out there. So that's led us to identify the fact that there was a clear gap in the market, which was a lower cost microscope, fully automated, that could be used by embryologists and clinicians, especially because we can see a big move in this space towards satellite locations. So that is the product we developed here. Essentially, cloud-powered, clinic-based system, and we can do the full gamut of WHO parameters. It can standardize and simplify the analysis. It's super quick. It's a plug-and-play thing. And yeah, plugs right into any patient management system that you're already using. Again, I don't want to spend too much time on this, but that is what is really unique here is that even though it's such a small footprint of a microscope, we can do the exact same sophisticated analysis as some of these big expensive systems. Again, this is just meant to show great linearity and accuracy of the test, where you can see we're pretty close to a slope of 1, which is exactly would be a perfect correlation, and we're currently at 0.9911. So showing that. We're also enrolled in an external quality control system. It's renowned worldwide, so called UK NEQUEST, where external labs use our equipment on samples where the results or the concentrations are undisclosed. And here you can see external labs using our device and how closely it matches with the actual values of this. So it's a great quality control system. Again, it feeds right into the patient management system that we've developed, but of course it shows much more sophisticated microscopy where you can also unlock a deeper analysis like morphology and sperm kinematics, which is what you would want in a sophisticated lab or if you're doing research. And yeah, we're getting great feedback on it. You can see just how small it is. I'm holding it up right now in front of my face. This is actually a high-powered microscope that is just a plug and play into a computer, and then you're ready to go, no installation required. Yeah, so we're getting amazing feedback. This is the senior lab director of one of the leading clinics in London. Just saying that easy to install, great software, quick and improves their lab flow. Yeah, where we want to be quite disruptive is in the fact that we can produce them at a decent cost. We can compete with these very highly expensive systems. We can still do all the different parameters. And essentially for the labs, what we're intending to do is pretty much to give them for free and then say all you need to pay for is the usage or an annual licensing fee. And that is something that's not really been done in our industry before. So it's ripe for disruption. And we're getting great feedback on it so far. And what it exactly does is that it opens up this brand new segment of the market, which are these satellite locations, which would either need to bring in a highly qualified andrologist, which doesn't really happen, or an embryologist, or they would need to invest in a highly expensive microscope, which also doesn't happen. So we're enabling that. You can see here we're actually we're growing our global footprint quite rapidly. So we already have paying customers in Europe. We now actually have paying customers in Japan as well. We signed a very big deal with the leading Japanese distributor, medical device distributor, just in October. Shipped our first products. And we actually have the first US clinics now using it as a research use only unit, but that's very exciting that we have a clear strategy about of rolling them out as a research use only as we learn from the marketplace and then converting to paying customers post FDA approval. And yeah, this is a little bit about how much we have grown. We've seen tremendous utilization growth since our launch. We recently reached 60,000 videos, as I mentioned earlier. So we know now that there's proven scalability of the system. We can scale the physical production, and of course the software is capable of handling the volumes. So yeah, that's just ready to do further scaling here. This shows our portfolio, which is just, I think, uniquely positioned to become a diagnostics leader in the male fertility space. We certainly have a lot more things in the pipeline. We're not a one-trick pony or two-trick pony or even a five-trick pony. What you see here down in the penultimate line, you see something that says DNA fragmentation. That is one of the highest sub-growth areas in male fertility diagnostics. That's around a $400 test. And the beauty here is that the capability of the device is already built for doing that DNA fragmentation. So now we're developing the software modules to put on top, meaning that's another value unlock we can do down the line. And then we're currently doing some pretty cutting edge research on set stacking. We have a couple of new patents in under preparation just on that, as we're really pushing the envelope, yeah, with our products. This is just to show we have a number of patents, design protections, and trademark registrations. On the right-hand side, you see the latest CASA Lite patent submission. So we're building a nice moat around us, so we can't just be replicated. This is a slide showing some of the path that we've taken so far. I won't go through it all, but in 2022, we did a $3.2 million seed extension round to build partnerships with some of the insurance companies, fertility benefits providers like Carrot in the US. We're their European partner, also Mira. We're their European partner, and they're waiting for us to come into the US. And then in 2023 and 24, we've just been working really hard on maturing the product platform, doing the R&D, and preparing the regulatory approvals so we can do the 510(k) substantial equivalence approvals, get the launch in the US just right, because that is the market that we have our eyes set on and had to focus on for the last 2-3 years, I should say. And yeah, here's a little bit on the finances. These are the actual numbers from 2024. We can reveal those now. So we actually, we ended up at $1.6 million in revenue. But I think that was in a year where that should be seen on a reduced cost base for on the marketing and sales side, no new hires, and a high focus on the R&D and regulatory affairs. Even so, we saw a 50% revenue growth, 68% gross profit growth, and a 45 percentage point growth in the net margin. So it shows we are on a very clear path to profitability at scale. And yeah, we're very confident in these numbers because now we are shifting the focus from being very R&D focused, still generating okay sales at a seed stage, to scaling up the commercial organization, getting into the US. Yeah, so I think that's basically the main presentation.
Morten, what is your just a minute, profitability? The gross profit margin is 80%. I'm trying to understand so on that unit that you sell, or you right now just give it away for free, and then you charge on a per test basis, right?
Yeah, so we have two of them. So we have the home test here, which if you'd asked me 3.5 years ago, it would cost us $40 to make this. But then as we scaled up production, now we're doing production runs of around 15,000 at a time. So economies of scales in production side, better sourcing of components and so forth. We now make this for about $14, and we sell it for $95 in Europe. So the straightforward profitability on that is becoming quite attractive in itself. Now, where it gets really interesting in terms of unit economics is that it currently costs us around $350 to produce this high-powered microscope, and the list price is $6,500. And we have some customers that are paying that because they don't meet an annual volume. But of course, the conversation with the clinics is, okay, if you're going to do, let's say, 1,000 cycles or 1,000 tests a year, well, we will just gift this to you and you can pay for those cycles. So it becomes like an OpEx value proposition versus a CapEx. And of course, where it gets even more interesting is on the consumables, which costs us around $1 to make. And we have a volume-based pricing where it starts at $16 per test, all the way down to around $9 per test. And now what we've done in Japan, for example, is negotiate a distributor price where they come in and they buy like 20,000 tests at a time and 25 at a time, where of course they then get it cheaper, but we're still in like the $6-7 per test range. And then of course we have zero custom acquisition costs and these types of things. So that's why we're like very confident in the unit economics as we keep scaling.
And remind me, you're registered in the UK or in Denmark?
So our top co is in the UK, and then we have a wholly owned subsidiary in Denmark. Am I still sharing the screen? Maybe I can stop sharing the screen.
No, you are, and that's okay. Please keep sharing. It's not an issue. And remind me, please, are you intending to register in the US or not?
As a company?
Yeah.
Yeah, we will eventually be registering as a company in the US for sure. There might even, I mean, we've also looked into the Delaware flip and these types of things post Series A. So that would depend on an investor conversation. But we're of course fully invested into that market. I've even been there myself quite a few times looking for places to live, to relocate. So yes, that is the pathway that we're going to. But right now we are a UK limited company with a wholly owned subsidiary in Denmark. Yes.
Understood. Thank you very much. Please carry on. I know that I interrupted you, so please go on.
No, I think that was actually pretty much the final slide here. We wanted to make sure to open up the floor to anyone who wanted to ask any questions.
Yeah, whatever questions are there, gentlemen, please put them on in the Q&A. I'll be happy to moderate and ask the questions. And then if there aren't any, we can wrap up as well. But I do have some questions on the back end. So who is the competition? You mentioned a few different ones, right? And I'm trying to understand why we don't have this, or what is your advantage here in terms of the competition? Or what, and also, do you have IP, like in terms of patents? Which countries are they registered in?
Yeah, great question. So the first one, who are our competitors? So in the self-testing market, the home testing market, the number one in the US would be Legacy. So they have quite a footprint in the US. I think they've raised like 55 million US dollars, and they have a bigger sort of cryopreservation play. They have a test that costs around 400 US dollars, and then you're offered like a storage for your fertility preservation and so forth. I think that, I mean, what they've done that is great overall is that they're helping build the credibility around this self-testing, home testing market to say that is actually a viable option. Because before we started in 2017, and they started, I think, also in 2017, all that was available were these plastic cheap products in some pharmacy you might pull off a shelf. And no doctor would ever believe in the results, and they were at best measuring maybe one parameter, which wouldn't really tell you much. So it's like a big push to build a whole category, right? And so someone like Legacy or what do they call Spare Me and Daddy Kit in the US. And then I think what's truly unique about us is that we can help each other grow the market. And then they will all compete on the same business model, which is centralized lab, courier services, preservation medium. You get the results maybe a week later. And realistically, it's not reliable in predicting what was your true sperm quality at the time of production, right? What we focus on is true point of care diagnostics, where nothing needs to leave your home. You have immediate results, clinic grade, right on your phone, and then you as an individual can be told, okay, should I, with my partner, go through an IUI and Exseed or other types of treatment, because it's a much more reliable predictor of what is the best treatment pattern a pathway. And also our price point, I think, would actually slot in really nicely, because we will be in like the $99 category, whereas they're sitting in like the 400 category. And we can unlock a lot of things inside of the app, because we already now are funneling patients to other clinics, and we're starting to offer other services. Then I think just quickly on the B2B side, our competition is mainly these big, bulky $40,000 systems. And then there's one other competitor called Lenshook, which is like a $12,000 piece of equipment that's sort of like a standalone, where you need to manually transfer results across and so forth. So we come in at half the price point of that. We essentially disrupt the business model by saying we'll give it away for free if you reach a certain volume. And we just plug and play into the system and off you go. So you don't need a trained professional to be an operator. If you're a clinic that opens up a satellite location, it can be staffed by a nurse, something like that.
Okay, so two questions. One is, of course, that's been asked, but before we go there, I want to ask this question. So you said you had about 60,000 tests that have been done. Can you tell us the distribution? So how many were home tests and how many were kind of the provider tests, like at the clinic and so on? And how many different providers do you have that have bought your tests?
Yeah, so I mean, we only just we only just launched the CASA Lite last year, and we got certified in Q2. So then, so in terms of volumes, we're like 50,000 plus will be the home test, and then we're getting up into the range of 10,000 done on the CASA Lite. Of course, a lot of that so far has been research use only, and we're starting to now convert these into commercial customers. What I see are sort of some quantum leaps in for the business, even with the home test or some of the B2B partnerships that we have that are ready to be unlocked. So we're not out there winning the customers ourselves, but it's someone like Carrot, for example, or I can't tell you how many, but they're sending us a decent amount of customers per month, which are just their patients that they're offering our products to. And Europe is like 2% of their revenue probably. So those are some of the things that we're unlocking coming into the US in terms of volume.
Got it.
What was the second question? Sorry.
No, but sorry, I just want to make sure I get, sorry for delving deep into this, but
Mhm.
how many providers have actually, so there's about 10,000 tests that have been done. Let's assume they're all 100% research, or maybe 5% for commercial use. How many providers have signed up to buy your product? Or
So by provider, I would say clinics.
yeah,
So
yeah.
we are in about 25 clinics now.
And 25 clinics, like let's say 5,000 tests done, so 20 each, roughly, right? 2,000 each, roughly.
It really depends. Some of them will probably be a little less. But yeah, it's when we look at the annual value of a clinic, it's anywhere from like $5,500 to literally $200,000. Like some of the ones that I've been in Japan quite a few times lately, because some of the clinics that they have literally do 18,000 tests per location per year. So you can multiply that up by $6 or $7, that then you get what we would earn. But then there's also like individual gynecologist clinics who might do like 100 tests per year. And so they're the ones who would probably where we earn more on the actual microscope than afterwards.
Which of these two distribution channels do you think is the bigger one for you?
Right now, the home test for sure, but I see our B2B and software as a service play like really taking off, and the unit economics, the margins on that product just exceptionally attractive. And what we can see is actually we've also some of these clinics that have now about 8 of these clinics who bought the CASA Lite have begun asking about the home test, because now they found out that the home test can actually be fed into this patient portal. So there's definite cross-selling going on as you get into a clinic like that. I think before we had the CASA Lite, some of these clinics were afraid we were taking away patients. But now they can see actually everything that we do is integrated right into their centralized system, and so that's why they become comfortable. So it's a good two-pronged value proposition, but yeah, the B2B play I think is the strongest for sure.
Okay, so there is a question, what is your exit plan?
Yeah, it's a good question. We've worked hard for a number of years. Of course, that is there, and we could definitely see this exiting in a number of different scenarios. So just industry-wise, they're on the medical device equipment. For example, there's someone like Vitrolife or Cooper Surgical who are currently building an andrology platform, meaning male fertility health platform, and both of whom are missing a reliable CASA Lite or CASA system, I should say. Then there's also the pharmaceutical companies. We are currently a clinic trial technology provider to Ferring Pharmaceuticals. So that's the second largest pharma company in the space. And Merck, we have a conversation with them where they like our home test quite a lot because they could see we have X amount of people coming through, and then it becomes a patient referral tool for them, a patient education, and then of course to lead patients into clinics where they would have their pharmacological intervention. Then finally, there's somebody like some general male health companies. We saw Roe, I believe, they bought Daddy Kit for $100 million. Hims and Hers is a big competitor. You have some very big competitors in the UK in the same space, and they all have these stigmatized male health, you know, like premature ejaculation, hair loss, impotence, so forth, but they're all missing that fertility vertical as we see it, the male fertility vertical, which has been just incredibly successful on the female side, like all the ovulation trackers, and that's just becoming the standard thing. So I think that those are some of the main pathways, and of course, there's a lot of like medical device aggregators out there, a lot of whom have at least been in touch with us. So,
Got it. Thank you. Any other questions for Morten and his team? So at this point, I think if there's nothing else, we should wrap up. But we'll be in touch, Morten. Thank you. Thank you to you and Emil and Ben. Thank you very much for your presentation. This will be recorded. It will be available on our PropelX platform, and I'll be in touch with you, Morten. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.